check out my friend Lee's boxing channel.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video. Now, today's video is going to be talking about the upcoming matchup between Anthony Joshua versus Joseph Parker taking place over in Cardiff, Wales. This card is absolutely stacked. Talented fighters such as Joshua Buatsi on there, who I've wanted to make a profile on this channel for over a year about, talking about his skills. Joe Cordina, another talented fighter that I watch in the amateurs. And also we got Ryan Burnett on this card. So this is a card you want to tune in from the very first fight to the main event. Heavyweight matchup, UK atmosphere. This is a can't miss fight. I believe both of these fighters, their style is going to make this a very interesting and intriguing night of boxing. So if you've never seen some of my video, guys, ultimately I'm going to get into skills both of these fighters possess, a few keys to this matchup, and ultimately my prediction on this fight. Hope everyone enjoys the video. So let's get right into it. Let's first start with Joseph Parker and what he brings to the table in this fight. Joseph Parker is a fighter from New Zealand, excellent hand speed. When I look at him, he has very good power. I would say his best weapon to finish a fight would be his straight right hand or also his overhand right. He throws combination punches at time. Also, when you look at him, he gives you some movement, and he's shown in his career a very good chin, along with his Samoan descent definitely helps out. The Samoan guy's toughest, very, very toughest people in the world, in my opinion, one of them. So I expect him to be very durable in this fight. And also he'll give you a bit of movement. So I think people are kind of underestimating some of the skills that Joseph Parker brings to this fight because he hasn't looked the best in some recent encounters. Especially, I wasn't too impressed with his performance against Hughie Fury. But we got to remember that Hughie Fury has excellent footwork, lots of movement, can switch stances, so he's an extremely hard fighter to track down. And what I got out of that fight was that I was actually very impressed with Joseph Parker's improved stamina. I thought he looked better in that department than he has in quite some other encounters. So that was a good improvement and fair play to him for that. Also going into this fight, guys, Joseph Parker looks much slimmer than usual. Apparently he's had an excellent camp. He's been over in Las Vegas training, so should be very interesting. We're going to get the best version of Joseph Parker, I believe. And Anthony Joshua now. Let's talk about him, guys. So Anthony Joshua has also made some changes for this fight. He looks a lot leaner than he did before. He's lost some of that muscle mass. So I expect Anthony Joshua to come in with more speed than usual. Now, there's two ways of looking at that. He's going to be quicker against a very explosively fast fighter with good hand speed in Joseph Parker. So that should help him a bit in the stamina-wise. Now, the other way of looking at it is, however, Joshua has had some issues with getting hurt in fights. Would that extra mass help him recover from a shot or prevent him from getting hurt? So that's going to be something interesting to see, how Joshua's body reacts with that extra mass off his frame for this fight versus Joseph Parker. Now, when I look at Joshua, I've always been very impressed with how composed he is, fighting in front of football stadiums. Doesn't faze him whatsoever. And the things that make Anthony Joshua very successful, in my opinion, he's got that power. He also has good hand speed as well. When you look at him, he sticks to his basics. He throws a lot of jab right hand combinations, or he'll throw a three, so he'll put a jab, right hand, and left hook. And also, I really like some of the feints that he does as well that are kind of underrated. You'll see him feint a jab to the head and throw a body shot down below. You'll also see him keep his guard up. His defense is a bit underrated in my opinion because a lot of times when Joshua gets hurt in fights, there's a couple different reasons. He overextends on his punches, and also it's due to stamina issues. So Joshua has some very good fundamentals. This is Olympic gold medalist we're talking about. A lot of people forget about that. And also, he can finish you with a left hook, a right hand, an uppercut. So that's what makes him very dangerous as a fighter, always in my opinion. And he's overcome adversity. You look at that Klitschko fight. You look at Dillian Whyte's fight. If you hurt Anthony Joshua, you better finish him because he's going to come back and he's going to knock you out if not. So that's something to keep in mind when we talk about Joshua as a fighter. Now let's move on and talk about some advantages that Joseph Parker has in this fight. My opinion, Joseph Parker has the better chin of the two fighters. He's shown that throughout his professional career. Now it's different going up against a guy like Anthony Joshua, but that's going to be a great test. We'll see how good a chin Joseph Parker has. But the Samoan background, I definitely believe he'll be game and be durable. When I look at Parker, I also believe he has a hand speed advantage in this fight. I also, when I look at Parker, I think he is better stamina-wise than Anthony Joshua is, in my opinion. He's been 12 rounds with guys like Huey Fury, Ruiz, also Takam. So he has more experience going the distance, and I also think he has better movement than Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. Now, some advantages that I think Anthony Joshua has over Joseph Parker would be the following. I believe that Anthony Joshua has a power advantage. I also believe he's a better counterpuncher of the two. I also believe he has better defense, believe it or not, than Joseph Parker, which a lot of people are going to question why I would say something like that. When I go back to that point, when you look at Joseph Parker, a massive flaw that he has, just watch some of his fights. He'll be in range, just drop his hands and walk away from his opponent on defense at times. You cannot do that against Anthony Joshua, and that is one reason why I think Anthony Joshua has better defense. He always has his guard up, in my opinion. And a lot of times he's ever been hurt has been when he's overextended on a punch. So that's not necessarily his defense. That's him overextending and putting himself in a bad position off balance, and his chin is receiving that blow. So ultimately, I think that Joshua has the advantage in defense in this fight. I think he's also, in my opinion, Joshua, I think, has the more diversity of punches, in my opinion. The way he'll use his left hook, he'll use his uppercut, right hand, jab, and he feints more than Joseph Parker. So a little more diversity in his offense, in my opinion, of the two fighters. Some keys for this matchup, guys, ultimately, I think that are massive in this fight. I'm interested to see if Joseph Parker attacks the body of Anthony Joshua early, because if you've seen in previous Anthony Joshua fights, he has got hit a few times to the body versus Dillian White and also versus Carlos Takam. And as we know, Anthony Joshua's biggest weakness is his stamina. And if you're able to hit a fighter in the body, that's going to slow him down for the championship rounds. And I think that's going to be a massive avenue that Joseph Parker is going to want to take advantage of in this fight. And I think definitely their team will see some flaws in that and try to hit Joshua in the body as much as possible. Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, he needs to start off fast like he usually does. However, he needs to maintain his pace so he does not gas himself out, which we've seen him do in previous encounters. Because against a guy like Joseph Parker, where he has power and he has that crazy hand speed, something interesting that Parker does is you'll think he's very tired at times, and he'll kind of play possum and come back with a five-punch combination out of nowhere. So dangerous fighter Parker is, and I think Joshua's just really got to pace himself and box smart, use his jab, pick his shots, and don't engage in a brawl, because if you're engaging in a brawl with a guy like Parker who has superior hand speed, you never know what's going to happen, especially if Parker has a better chin of the two. You don't want to fight fire for fire. Box smart and do not overextend on any of your punches. So, my opinion, guys, ultimately on this fight, I'm going to pick Anthony Joshua to win this fight by decision. My reasoning for picking Joshua to win this fight in decision, I just think besides hand speed, if you look at them as two fighters, I think that Anthony Joshua has the edge in almost every avenue except for chin, like I said earlier, also movement and hand speed and stamina, which are very key factors, don't get me wrong. But when I pick a fight, I like to pick it off who is technically the better fighter, in my opinion. And I believe Anthony Joshua is superiorly technical of the two fighters. I like his size advantage in this fight. I also like his defense is going to be better, I think, especially with him being lighter. And I think his stamina is going to be improved in this encounter. And I think that Joshua hits too hard for Joseph Parker to consistently always be in his face the way that Parker likes to fight, where he's there to be hit. I just think against a guy like Anthony Joshua, he cannot fight like that. And eventually it's going to take a toll on Parker in this fight, in my opinion. So ultimately, those are my reasons for picking Anthony Joshua in this matchup. Also, when you look at the experience factor as well, when you compare the two resumes, Klitschko is a better fighter than anybody that Parker has on his resume. And that was a very good fight for Joshua to learn. And he faced a lot of adversity. So that's something that can definitely help him in this matchup versus Joseph Parker. Because Vladimir looked very good in that fight, I thought, against Joshua. Nonetheless, I got Joshua decision. I just think Parker is too tough to get stopped. Massive credit to him. Very humble guy. He's got some skills. I think he gives some other heavyweights a lot of problems. I just don't think he's going to beat Joshua. However, The key thing to look out for is how Joshua paces himself, because if he gets tired, there's a very good chance that Joseph Parker can rock him and even drop him. And you never know, even stop a guy like Anthony Joshua if he lands enough of his shots and he lands that right hand consistently. So that's something that makes this fight very intriguing. Two heavyweights going at it. You never know what happens when the first person lands a vicious shot. Let me know what you guys think on this fight, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.